Ready, set, adventure! Welcome to Hikanuki World Tour and day 4 on our cruise aboard the NCL Pearl. Will today finally be a pool day? Nope, still rainy and windy. But we'll brave the weather and spend the day in Split, Croatia. We'll visit Diocletian's palace. We'll climb up Marjan Hill for spectacular views of the city. And have our best lunch of the cruise within the walls of the palace. Then we'll head back to the ship for dinner with our favorite waitstaff. And maybe even join in a Congo line. So come join us. We arrived in Split, Croatia at 7 in the morning with an all-aboard time of 5:30, so we had plenty of time to explore the city. We didn't book a tour, so we were on our own to explore, although in retrospect, we probably should have booked a tour to the palace.
Just a moment, let me check.
We started the day at Ocean's for breakfast. Their menu offers something for everyone with sweet and savory items. Looking out the window, we were a little discouraged with the weather. But on a cruise, you usually only have one day in each port, so we were going to bundle up and get out there. Thankfully, we brought along ponchos, but my umbrella didn't survive. We had a hearty English breakfast with bacon, tomato, eggs, potatoes, and baked beans, and had an English muffin on the side. I had the breakfast sandwich with ham, scrambled eggs, cheese, and a brioche bun. We enjoyed our breakfast and thought it was a nice change from the buffet. We got off the ship and immediately noticed the wind and rain. We put on our ponchos and headed for the city. It was about a 10-minute walk over to the city of Split, and we weren't alone in braving the weather. Upon exiting the secure area around the ship, there were many people trying to sell tours, and there was even a hop-on, hop-off bus. But we kept walking toward the city. As you can see, there were plenty of taxis waiting if you'd prefer to take a ride to the city. Besides Diocletian's palace, which is where we're going to go today, Split is known for having very many beautiful beaches, islands to explore, and even the Blue Cave. But because of the weather we were experiencing, none of these really suited us, and we decided to walk over to the city. We'll also climb up Marjan Hill and take a stroll along the Riva Promenade. But first, we need to stop and buy a couple of umbrellas. Walking along the port area was quite busy. There's a ferry terminal, a bus station, and a train station, all located in one area. Ferrying between the islands is a very popular option, and there's also a ferry that runs every other day to Ancona, Italy, straight across the Adriatic Sea. Pastries, sandwiches, and sidewalk cafes are also located along the port. Near the station, there was a place to store your luggage, as well as a place to rent scooters, bikes, and cars. This part of the port, while very functional, is not very scenic, so we kept walking. Crossing at the large crosswalk, we were about to come to the Green Market. This market, open daily, features everything from fruits, vegetables, and meats to clothing and souvenirs. While there was quite a lot of graffiti, the area still felt very safe. We headed down the stairs to check out the market. Today we don't have a specific plan or specific time frame, so we're just going to meander around the streets of the city and see what we can see. Because of the lousy weather, there were a lot of stalls that weren't set up today. But there were still quite a few locals doing their shopping. We took a look around but didn't buy anything. neared the end of the Green Market, we approached Diocletian's palace. We entered through the eastern gate. The Roman Emperor Diocletian reigned from 284 to 305 AD. He retired in 305 and was the first Roman emperor to abdicate his throne voluntarily. He built this palace on the Dalmatian coast because that's where he was born. He spared no expense in building the palace and imported marble from Italy and Greece, as well as using local limestone. He enlisted the aid of the most talented Roman architects and engineers to create this masterpiece. This sprawling complex has defied time, and as it stands today, is the most complete Roman palace. And the palace lives on today as the center of Split. Here you'll find streets and alleyways, some of which would have been hallways in the old palace. There's restaurants, shops, and even private homes located within the Roman walls. The octagonal building was built to be Diocletian's mausoleum. He is rather infamous for being a persecutor of Christians. Ironically, the site of his mausoleum was converted into a Christian cathedral. As you can see, there were quite a few tours going on, and I do recommend taking a tour, as there is a lot of history here, a lot of buildings, and not that many markings. If you don't take a tour, there is a map, so snap a picture of that so you can take your own self-guided tour. The palace is huge, so plan to spend a couple of hours even if you're not on a tour. Colorful umbrellas and raincoats were the look of the day. We were again surprised by how crowded it was, as it was supposed to be shoulder season, which we've renamed to shoulder season. We're now in the peristyle square. The term peristyle refers to an inner courtyard within a villa. Peristyles are characterized by columns, and of course Diocletian's was pretty monumental. This open area would have been used as a gathering place, as it still is today. One point of interest here is the Sphinx, which you can see resting on the ledge on the left. There were actually 12 Sphinx originally brought to the palace. They were brought here around 297 as a thanks to Diocletian, who put down a rebellion in Egypt. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, then go down here. This is in the show where Daenerys kept her dragons. There were actually several scenes from Game of Thrones shot around the palace. You may recognize some of the streets and alleyways. Much of Game of Thrones was filmed in Dubrovnik, Croatia, where we'll be tomorrow, and we're actually going to take a tour of the different film sites. We're now entering the vestibulum, which was the former entrance hall and reception area in the palace. Although open to the top now, it would have been domed during Diocletian's time. It has wonderful acoustics, and the emperor's voice would have been booming here, creating an authoritative and intimidating welcome to his guests. Now this acoustic hall is used by local klapa groups who perform folk songs. We felt fortunate to have caught this performance and thought it was truly amazing. Just a reminder to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to Hikanuki World Tour. It really helps our channel grow. Thanks, we really do appreciate you. Although this was a nice skylight, I guess the dome would have done a better job keeping the rain out. Come along with us as we continue our walk through the palace.
All the lovely food that the emperor would prepare for you. And what was the food like back in the 3rd, 4th century?
Within the many alleyways and streets within the palace, you'll find more shops, restaurants, and places to visit. We found a sweet shop specializing in all different types of baklava, as well as Turkish delight. The choices were a little overwhelming, but the cashiers helped us to make a wise choice. These were all traditional, 100% handmade delights. Which is better? This was a very clean, well-organized shop, and the pastries tasted just as good as they looked. Here's our little sampler. The crescent-shaped one actually had chocolate inside. From what we tried, I don't think you could go wrong with any of the flavors. The pastry was crispy and filled with honey and nuts. After our little snack, we decided to head outside. We headed out through the Golden Gate, which was once the main entry and exit point. It probably goes without saying, but Diocletian's palace is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And you might even see a Roman guard. While the Golden Gate is not gold in color, it's named golden because it shows the significance of that particular gate. And once outside, and we don't want to speak too soon, but it looks like the weather might be clearing up. Snap a quick pic with the Roman guards outside of the Golden Gate. Outside of the palace, you'll see the bell tower of St. Arnir. This stands as a remnant of a Benedictine monastery. The church that once stood here was mostly burned in the 19th century, and then it was totally destroyed in World War II. Also outside the Golden Gate, you can't help but notice the statue of Gregory of Sin, who was the medieval bishop who advocated the use of the Croatian language in religious settings instead of Latin. This imposing 28-foot tall statue is a popular meeting place, and be sure to rub his big toe for good luck and to return to Split. The statue was created in 1929 by Ivan Mestrovich, a renowned Croatian sculptor considered one of the greatest sculptors of the 20th century.
Thank you.
Walk with us again as we explore the palace and the streets around it on our way to Marjan Hill. And now we were on our way to climb up Marjan Hill. While the palace and city center of Split were very flat, now we're going to climb up the hill and go for the beautiful views. This beautiful green oasis provides an escape from the busy city. And like our next port of Montenegro, Split, Croatia loves its cats. Climbing up the hill allowed beautiful views of the ship and of the beautiful fragrant pine forest. But be advised, it was about 300 steps to get to this point. One advantage to our overcast day is that the sun wasn't blazing down and making it hot and uncomfortable. There's a restaurant at the top of the 300 steps, and it's about 1/3 of the way up the total hill. You can also see this little stone church, which was built in 1219, but you can peek in through the window in the door to see what's inside. I would suggest climbing the hill more to see the scenery than just to see this church. I loved all the different pine trees, plus there were huge plants of aloe vera. If you're so inclined, you can continue walking up steps to get to the zoo and botanic garden. We started up the steps, admiring the aloe and trees around us. The steps were fairly easy to navigate, although the rise and run varied from step to step, making it hard to keep a normal gait. So we decided to turn back around and head for the Riva Promenade. Split's not just for cat lovers. We walked down the wide steps, past the houses and neighborhoods. We walked slowly and carefully. Since it had been raining all morning, the steps were a bit slippery. We did stop occasionally to admire the architecture. We found Split to be very picturesque, with parts of it reminiscent of Venice. Built in the 19th century by an architect from Venice, it bears a striking resemblance to St. Mark's Square. And now we're back on flat land, walking along the Riva, the seafront promenade lined with tall palm trees, bustling cafes, and shady benches. And just like that, we find ourselves back at the south entrance to Diocletian's palace. Instead of eating along the Riva, we decided to go back inside. We had seen an interesting restaurant and thought this was the time to try it. It was about 3 o'clock, and we needed to be back to the ship by 5:30, so we went to get something to eat. We found Laganini tucked into the walls of the palace. With a TripAdvisor 5-star rating on 2,500 reviews, we thought it would be good. And it turned out to be our favorite restaurant that we ate at off of the ship on our whole trip. The restaurant was warm and welcoming, and our waiter was very friendly.
It's actually the best quality salt you can find in Croatia. It comes from a place called Nimir, the city of Zadar, and it is sea salt with no additives. One is only the stream of black olives inside, so it's a light body, and they recommend it for salads, for raw fish.
We really enjoyed trying the 2 olive oils and salt from the region, as well as a glass of wine. Lunch was off to a great start. This is the kind of place, had we been there longer, probably would have eaten at more than once. My husband had the Adriatic sea bass fillet served over fennel cream with a salad with radishes. He said it tasted fresh and delicious. We also shared a side of boiled potatoes. That may not sound like much, but they were seasoned perfectly. I had what they called beefsteak, which was a filet mignon sliced over greens, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. We highly recommend that you seek out Laganini when you visit Split. And now we wanted to head back to the ship. It was about a 10 or 15 minute walk, but we saw this pedicab and thought that might be fun.
That's good. Then we'll be on.
Let's make one photo with you with my bike.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Okay. Here we are. We're getting our cab.
S-Class Mercedes.
S-Class Mercedes.
And drive with Shrek.
That's right. And it's a convertible too.
Yeah, air condition.
This was a really swift way to get back to the ship, and our driver was very entertaining.
Train station, bus station, ferry station, all in one.
Oh wow.
Train, bus and ferry. I have the nice sense to humor, and I know how many people reference it.
Thank you. That was fun. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
And now back to the NCL Pearl. We started the next part of our day at Starbucks on Deck 7. Comically, the only Wish You Were Here mug they had was from Miami. Not exactly the best souvenir for a ship that left from Italy and returns to Greece.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Looks good.
Also on Deck 7 is a sushi bar where you can get fresh-made sushi. But this does cost extra. And we hurried up to Deck 13 to watch the sail away from Split. We thought Split was a very picturesque city with a European feel and a great mix of old and new. And here we go, heading to our next port, Kotor, Montenegro. We really enjoyed our day today, and even though we didn't have a tour, we still made the most out of visiting Diocletian's palace. Also, the walk up Marjan Hill was definitely worth it for the beautiful views. And we had a delicious lunch. And finally, it looks like the weather might actually cooperate. And there goes the pilot boat, so we're on our own. Not surprisingly, we're at the Great Outdoors to watch the sail away. The water of the Adriatic is a beautiful blue and so very clear. I hope we can come back someday in the future and check out the beaches and islands. We grabbed a drink and went to see what was going on elsewhere on the ship. The only activity on the pool deck are the hot tubs. It's still rather windy, as you can see from the flags. Tonight we decided to go to the 7 p.m. show, Lord Nill's Magic Show, an escape artist. Well, of course we couldn't film a magician, but the show was pretty entertaining. He was actually funny. But I won't tell you if he was able to escape. After the show, we headed to Indigo and asked for a table with our favorite waiters, Raymart and Jessa. We were shown to our table, table 11. We started dinner with a glass of Cabernet. And then Jessa came and took our order, always with a smile on her face. As always, we started with the rolls and butter. Our first appetizer were the Asian pot stickers. They had pork filling and a dipping sauce, and a good way to start the evening. The Pearl waitstaff were all hardworking and fun.
Okay, thank you. Good job. All right.
The next appetizer was an Asian noodle salad with shrimp and chicken. And I went with the always delicious Caesar salad. All the appetizers were good tonight. And here comes Raymart. For an entree, my husband chose the lemon pepper shrimp with saffron orzo, and he enjoyed it very much. I had the chicken cordon bleu, which is always a go-to favorite for me, and I especially like the Dijon mustard sauce that it was with.
You guys are the best team here. That's why we wanted to have you 2 nights in a row. So I just want to put you on and say thank you for great dinners and great service. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for proceeding.
For dessert, we thought we'd try the sugar-free chocolate cake, which was actually quite good. And the cream cheese-filled carrot cake. I especially loved the presentation. Typically, I don't try the sugar-free dessert, but I'm glad I did in this case. And on the suggestion of Raymart, my husband had an Irish coffee. Outside of the dining room, there's always a professional photographer who's always happy to take a few pictures and give you some nice memories to take home.
Okay, looking good.
No. You should.
Put your hand on his chest.
Oh, lifelike.
Oh, gorgeous. Okay, look at you individuals. So.
Oh, God, no.
Next, we swung by the casino in the casino bar. I never had trouble finding a seat at a slot machine. I just had trouble winning. I know it may seem like we spend a lot of time at Magnum's, and you're probably right, but on a smaller ship there's only so many places to go.
One more. Oh!
For a change of pace, we went up to deck 13 to see what was going on at the ABBA and Bee Gee party. Sorry, but we can't use the music due to copyrights. And from there we went down to deck 7 to the Bliss Ultra Lounge. That's where you'll find the bowling alley and also karaoke.
When waking up in Vegas, you got me into this. Information overload, situation lost control. Send out an SOS. And this cash out. We're gonna tear up the night up and shake the glare of a blue now. That's what you get for waking up in Vegas.
Hi, okay, here's your lambano.
They also had a few slot machines here, so we put in 20 bucks and walked away with 40. You can't argue with that math. And I guess if the main casino gets too crowded, there weren't many people here. So we pocketed our earnings and headed back to the cabin. And out on the balcony, Mother Nature was putting on a show of her own. Let's hope the weather improves, because we have another steep climb ahead of us in Montenegro. We hope to see you there. Thanks for joining us today at Hikanuki World Tour and our day in Split, Croatia. Our travel wisdom today comes from George Bernard Shaw. Grain by grain, a loaf. Stone upon stone, a palace. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram and hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted when new videos are dropped.